It is my honor to welcome back to Virginia the 42nd President of the United
Thank you. Terry's gotten so good on the stump, I don't think he needs me anymore. Congressman Connolly, thank you for being here and for your leadership. Senator Herring, thanks for running for Attorney General. I used to have that job. That's the best job in politics. It is. You don't have, unlike the governor, you don't have to hire anybody or fire them. You don't have to appoint anybody or disappoint them. And if you make an unpopular decision, you can always blame it on the Constitution. We're laughing, but it's a really important job. And I hope you will vote for it. Commander Martin, thanks for welcoming us to the VFW post. And Carlos Castro, thank you for what you said earlier, and to all the others who spoke, especially Kelly Blair Hart, the Teacher of the Year. Almost certainly the most important person who's spoken here today in terms of the influence you have. Someone told me the other day, I spoke to an education group, and they said they'd read part of my autobiography where I talked about my teachers. He said, nobody could possibly remember the things you remember about your teachers and all your. I said, oh yes. I said, I didn't put half the stuff I did remember in it. So I thank you for what you've given your life to. God bless you. Folks, Virginia has ensured by scheduling your governor's races and these other races in the year after a presidential contest that you're going to get a lot of attention. And then you have two amazingly interesting and wildly different people running.
That's one way to put it.
I know today I'm sort of preaching to the choir, but I want to talk a little about why I came here and why I've worked hard for Terry. We have been friends for years. Our families have vacationed together. I know his children. He's got 2 nieces here today and a brother in addition to 3 of his 5 kids. I know what a good man he is. I know he overmarried, which is the first requirement for good judgment. And any male. And I could literally keep you here tomorrow morning and just tell you things that I know about him that make my blood boil when I read all these sort of cartoon characterizations of him. He is a very, very good man. And he will be a wildly popular governor if you elect him. But I want to talk about what I know about this race from my lifetime. I was the governor for 12 years. And some people thought I just was afraid I couldn't get another job. I stayed so long. But I loved it. I loved it every day because there was a minimum of the kind of hot air you often see in Washington and a maximum focus on human beings and results and whether what you did worked or not. In the year I ran for president, even though my state was devastated in the 1980s by the long recession and what happened to the farmers, we led the nation in job growth the year I ran for president. And there was an article which said that along with South Carolina, we'd made the most progress in our schools. You were applauding before, but I'm telling you folks, I've been watching governors now for almost 40 years. In the end, what matters is, what have you done to make the economy competitive? To give people a chance to go to work and earn a decent living? And what have you done to prepare them for it? From kindergarten and pre-kindergarten through community colleges and job training and universities. That's what matters. And we're going through a terrible time now. I have a very good friend who's a Canadian, who told me, I just happened to be with him the week after the financial crash back in September of 2008. He said, Bill, this is going to be devastating. These things take a long time, sometimes 10 years to get over. And what I want to say to you is, I don't know of a single child that has 10 years. I don't know of a single child that every day is not important to. And I want you to elect him governor because what happens in Virginia is really important in this country. I mean, Norfolk's the biggest naval station in the world. Terry's older son, and he's going to get out and be a naval officer. Don't you want him to be proud of the service he can render and the protection he can provide? Here's what I know. In 12 years as governor and 8 years as president, 8 years have worked out pretty well for us. We gave you 4 surplus budgets, all those jobs, declining poverty, lowest poverty rate we've had in more than 30 years, and it's the first time in more than 30 years that there has not been an increase in inequality. If you break the economy down into the lowest 20% of earners, the next 20%, all the way up to the top 20%, in percentage terms, their incomes rose about the same. We went forward together. We're supposed to grow together. We didn't do it by taking anybody down. We did it by lifting everybody up. Here's what I learned in 12 years as governor and 8 years as president. You want people to make their differences clear. Differences are good. They're healthy. Debate's good. We should all have our philosophies and our general outlook. But if we become ideological, then we're blind to evidence. We can only hear people who already agree with us. We think we know everything right now. We've got nothing to learn from anybody. And the most important thing we can do is impose our views on everybody else. And you can choose that course here. But I'm telling you, I was a governor for 12 years and president for 8 years, and it doesn't work. Yeah. It doesn't work. The only thing that, when you got a complicated set of problems with a lot of moving parts, and even Albert Einstein couldn't give you the right answer to every question, the only thing that works is cooperation. When you get everybody together and you listen to people, and you don't basically whip up on a racial group, an ethnic group, inflame people about women's health, misstate the facts to justify denying access to health care. It excites people, but it doesn't get a darn thing done. I knew that Terry was on the right path when he told me in a telephone conversation, I don't know, it was nearly a year ago. He said, I'm going to visit every community college in this state. I was the first president to give a commencement address at a community college. And we established a community college network statewide when I was governor. Now, these community colleges are metaphors for the way Virginia ought to work. Open enrollment, no age discrimination, close contact with the surrounding community and the economy so that you're always changing the courses to meet the reality of what is possible. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing ideological about that.
Right. That's right.
We're either training people for a new economy or we're not. We're either moving in the right direction or we're not. And people ask me all the time, now that I'm in my dotage, burns me up. Most of my life, I was the youngest person doing whatever I was doing. One day I woke up, I was the oldest man in the room. But they ask me all the time, what do you want your legacy to be and all that? And I always say, it's not just me, anybody. If you are given the privilege to serve in public life, only three things matter. Are people better off when you quit than when you start? Do the children have a brighter future? And are we moving forward together or drifting apart? If you can get the right answer to those three things, whatever job you've got in life, you did it well. And it's the only legacy. I believe with all my heart that Terry McAuliffe will be a great governor of Virginia. And within a year, people who didn't vote for him would wonder what they were thinking on election day. But I do want to say this. Political extremism does have one political virtue. And let's basically just shell down the corn where everybody can get to it. The virtue of political extremism is that once you get people all torn up and upset, steam coming out of their ears, they will show up and vote. There's no doubt in my mind that a majority of Virginians will want Terry to be governor on election day. The real question is, can those of you who get up and worry about getting your kids to school and putting clothes on their backs and foods on the table and living your dreams, will you care as much as they do and show up and vote? For the incredible political division in this country is that in the non-presidential years, a whole different America shows up than in the presidential years. And those of us who want the country to come together and move forward, those of you who love Virginia and want it to come together and move forward, have got to care as much about this election as you did the election in 2012. That is our issue. I'm going to hold up this card too. First of all, because Hillary did it when she was here and told me to do it. Holding this card up here.
So did Hillary.
You laugh, but I want you to have a good time, but be serious here.
Yeah.
Everybody in this VFW hall, every single one of you could haul another 10 people to the polls if you cared enough about it. Yeah. If you just asked them to vote, if you just told them that one of the big reasons for the polarization of our politics is that we don't vote in the off years the way we do in the presidential years. That's when our governors are elected, that's when our state legislators are elected, that's when our House members are elected. A third of the the Senate will be elected next year in a non-presidential year. So, if you believe everything Terry said, if you want a governor who cares about jobs and modernize the economy and education and community colleges and other training efforts, who wants to build up the education system from the ground up, make Virginia a place where diversity is a virtue that makes you stronger economically and socially. If that's what you want, you got to show up. Yeah. And you have to get other people to. And so, that's my simple message. Being governor is it's an amazing opportunity. Every day you can get up and try to do something to help somebody have a better life. Every day, even in the hard economic times, there'll be something that you can do to try to get somebody to expand their employment or bring a new business here or help young people start out on their own and start their businesses or You know, there's all these things you can do if what you get up thinking about is the people you're serving, instead of the fact that your ideas are right and the world will be perfect when you impose them on everybody. And so, I ask you to think about it. Most states in this country would give anything to have the infrastructure you have here, to have the defense investments you have, to have the high-tech investments you have in Northern Virginia, to have the transportation program that the governor promoted, that Terry supported on a bipartisan basis, to try to modernize and upgrade the state. They would give anything to do it. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because we are living in a time where all over the world there's a shortage of jobs for young people. And in America, it's complicated by the difficulties that people in their middle years who still need to work another 20 years or so, but don't have a college degree or haven't, getting back in the workforce and getting a job where the incomes go up instead of just stay stagnant. This is a huge global and national challenge that you are better positioned to meet in Virginia than virtually any other place in the country. There are very few states that have the inherent assets you do. You cannot squander them by making this an ideological election. You've got to make it an election about people and progress together, about cooperation of the conflict. The people that aren't here today, that go to the other fellow's rally, they'll be there on election day. I've dealt with it all my life. They will be there. But there are more of us who believe that working together works better than constant conflict. There's like tons of evidence of it. I read a book a couple of years ago called The Wisdom of Crowds by a journalist named Jim Surowiecki. And essentially, here's what he said. This is what the whole, you don't have to read the book, you just listen to it. He basically said, if we took an instantaneous IQ test here, and we picked out the smartest person in this room, and we put the person alone in a room, and then all the rest of us just stayed here. And our big room, in that little room, they fed us 20 questions over a period of several days. Over time, the crowd would make better decisions than the genius. And I know the crowd makes better decisions than the ideologues. So, you have decided to support Terry McAuliffe and his ticket. Now you must decide to vote and bring everybody you can kicking and screaming with you. Thank you.